also an old movie I made that walks you through this whole thing, the whole first part of what I talked about. And it shows you all these different kinds of wood, you know, that you can use.
Did you ever use driftwood?
No, like I said, if you found a piece of driftwood, it might be pithy, might be waterlogged, but if it happened to be a tight grain, old growth piece, you know, that's big enough to get the bad parts off, sure. Doesn't matter, as long as you, like I said, the first flute I carved, the wood was not in very good shape. Like a piece like this isn't even an old growth. This is just a piece of, you know, it's got some tight grain to it. So if I finished it, it'd have some nice, you know, when you get it all sanded down, those grains come out, just like any nice piece of furniture, and it makes the flute very pretty. And like I said, the longer the flute is played, the sweeter it gets. So, and then the size of the holes, this one is made for a child. The kid can play little tiny fingers, can cover those holes. And the thing with a flute is, a flute like this, if you can blow and move your fingers, you can play it. It's not a hard instrument. You know, the other silver flute, you might have to learn how to hold your mouth. This is already, mouth is all set up. All you got to know is where to put the saddle. And it's also fun that I've made flutes and given them to my friends' kids, and they hang them on the wall in some nice pouch, and maybe years later they might learn to play them. It's up to the kid, but they've got this nice flute, you know. So it's something you can give somebody too. And the thing about the love flute is that all the love you put into that flute is going to be there. And then if you find someone to give it to that can appreciate it, then they get all the love that they're going to put into it. And that's something you don't have when you think money equals right. You know what I'm saying? Somehow a gift, you know, like that was the old way. It was not that you paid the medicine man to make your flute. You gave him what you felt that was worth or you could afford, and he gave you the flute, you know. It was a whole different thing. You didn't lose the love you put into it. You know, so that's why it's a love flute. And then you could take driftwood and pieces of wood you find and some leather and make yourself some nice flutes. I like this one. This is my white buffalo around here. So in the tradition, somebody be playing the drum around the campfire, and somebody else might have a flute. And sometimes we did a thing on Orcas Island at Moran Park back, over 18 years ago, and we had all the tribes represented by half-breeds. But we reclaimed the sacred hoop. We all played. We had 9 different handmade flutes, and everybody got together and played these flutes, and we sang the Four Directions song, and it was a grandmother's gathering, so there was tons of women, and we put the men in the middle, and we just prayed for each other, and it was very beautiful. And when Grandma Kitty had come, she was teaching for Grandma Twyla. This is the Seneca Wolf Clan teaching. There's many different tribes that still exist. They still have their culture. The elders still remember and are still honored. So if you can find that, then there's this whole rich, you know, understanding of the native way of life that we don't really know about at all. And we aren't going to find it in a book. But if you take a flute you made yourself and you go out in nature, you're going to hear it. And we're blessed with the woods out here. Any other questions?
Did you actually say that you called in the whales? I mean, that there was a whale. It's used as a whale call?
No, it's not a whale call. It's a whale song.
A whale song.
Okay, but the orcas sing with you. Okay, and I had an occasion
when they hear it,
where,
they respond.
where I was playing the flute and the guitar on the ferry in one of those kind of echo chambers at the end where people used to be able to smoke cigarettes. So you're covered, but it's open. And it kind of echoes all the way into the ferry almost through the vibration. And I didn't actually see it. The only guy who saw it was the guy who worked on the ferry. But we came from San Juan Island, we got back to Anacortes, and he said an orca followed us and jumped all the way out of the water 7 times. And he'd never seen anything like that. And he was there for years. And it was the music. You know, the orca came and acted like a dolphin, you know, playing around. So we have a connection. Now, my mom's almost 101. I was over on San Juan Island, and I heard that there was an orca born in 1911. The grandmother of all the orcas was still alive. So they live as long as we do. You know, and they're intelligent beings, and so are the dolphins, and so are the trees and the birds. We are all connected in this, what Dr. Wood would call, my mentor, a hollow field of experiential matter. And how to tune into that infinite wisdom without knowledge is music, because music is the source of this incredible, miraculous universe.
Could you back up and repeat that from the beginning?
That we're all part of this musical information that's a hollow field of what Dr. Wood referred to as experiential matter. So quantum physics has proven that miracles are normal.
Yeah.
Okay? And that our thinking is the only thing that limits us. Thinking that we're not everything and we're not capable of anything. And I've personally been healed by miracles, so I know it's possible myself.
So I mean, was healing through music without knowledge?
Yeah, there's a heartmath.com. Doesn't specifically refer to music. It refers to the Greek phi, or phi, P-H-I. And it says it's a golden mean, 1.6. And they found out this works for people or animals. If you're appreciating life, your heartbeat hits this golden mean and jumps octaves. And you get this infinite wisdom without knowledge. And it works for, the heartbeat actually shows that it's harmonizing. Now, when you're afraid or angry or anxious or any of these other things, your heartbeat is literally fighting itself and you're killing yourself. So we accept the Greek pi, which is not even a real number because we have to get the circles and the math to work. But we don't accept the golden mean, which is a perfect number. We don't even teach it in our schools, okay? And yet, the Egyptians understood it, the Tibetans, the Hebrew, all the ancient races knew that music was the source. And that when the sound hits the interval, this is the caduceus, they use it for the Navy medical corps. It's an Egyptian symbol with a staff and 2 snakes. And it actually represents the intertwining of the sound and light spectrum. So when the sound hits this interval, we see a light. Okay, so in the Tarot and the Hebrew tradition, the note C would produce a red light. And then it goes to the other side of the interval and you get red-orange, you get D sharp. And then there's 12 notes and 12 colors and they come back. The 1 octave, 8 notes, is actually 12 half steps or 12 notes. And the 7 colors are really 12. You know, there's red-orange, not just orange and red. See? So you have these steps. And I actually told somebody all about this back in the 70s. And they built a machine that did what I said was possible. And I never knew it. Never got to see it. It was actually in the Fillmore in San Francisco. So when the band was playing and the music hit it, the lights came out that matched those notes.
The tone. It matched the tone.
It was very interesting, but I never got to actually see it work. Okay, any other questions? Like I said, I use tight bond as a good glue, and it'll dry fast, so you want to tie that tight, and you want to have it just in the right place once you've carved the inside. If you're going to have something like a bird on the end, you carve that while it's still in two pieces. And when you're done, you take a knife and you just start carving the outside. Like you said, follow the grain if you can, because then you're going to get a nice little spiral of wood. That means you're doing it right. And if you're going the wrong way, you have to be real careful not to slip, because you can cut right through and ruin all your work. Okay, so when you're carving the outside of that flute, you can carve it down, and then if you feel like you're getting too close to the head, start sanding it. You know, stop with the carving knife and just use the sanding tool. And like I said, you can start with, say, 60 grit, you know, and the same when you're carving the inside, and then you start to sand. You don't carve it all the way down, you sand the last part. And that plate, you want that plate to be nice and flat. I'll not, you know, carve all the way to that pencil mark. I'll stop and I'll sand it down to the pencil mark. And I'll melt some beeswax. Take a lighter and just a little beeswax and melt it in there when I'm carving that plate. And you keep your tool real sharp. And you get a nice flat plate. And then when that's all done and you've done everything you want, you melt your beeswax in again. And then when you're done with the outside, you sanded it down. You start with the heavier grit, and you can go all the way to 1600 grit, and you get this beautiful mirror finish. Then you hot beeswax it. Like I said, if you ever get some nicks in it or something, you can just sand it down again.
When you say something about the closed end flutes or the open end flute, you have some that are closed with the bird figurehead on the other end, the front end.
Yeah.
One has a bird, which means there's no opening at the front. Oh, there is an opening in that bird's mouth.
Yeah, you still carve that gouge to match. But the outside of it, you can start the indication of a bird. You know, like I said, this was one of my first attempts, so it doesn't look that great, right? I could finish it and make it nice, but I like to keep it that way just as an example of how you can do it right or wrong. And this will still make a note, this flute. It doesn't look that great. And like I said, that's a really big hole. I could make all the holes that big. So if I wanted to with that larger size flute, I might still make those holes bigger. Because when I first made that bigger one, I matched it to a bamboo flute from India that was actually in the key of D. So the length is the same, but the holes in that other flute were bigger. So I've kept those smaller, but I could still sand them out. If I wanted to actually tune it right into key, that's how you can do it once you're there.
With the holes?
With just making the holes in a little bit different place.
Size of the hole matter.
The size of the hole will determine, yeah, as you make it bigger, it's going to change the tone. But a bigger hole will give you more options on the tone. You can bend the note with your finger. This is how they do it in India. They actually use the middle. I got to see Sachdev, who was an incredible Indian flautist, and he actually used this part of his finger. And he could hear like a 64th of a note. I don't have that good an ear. But a sitar player and a flautist like that, and just incredible music. Ravi Shankar and Sachdev, what a combination. Then a tabla player. That's like heavenly music. So anyway, if we had our little saddle, this one is just something I was playing around with the kids to make a little kitty out of. It wasn't even something we were going to do, but if you have it in the right place, you're going to get the right note. So you can move it up and down. See how this one didn't work right? That's not a square hole. But you can, that was a mistake, but you can still get a note. See what I'm saying? But if you cut into your 45-degree angle, you aren't going to get any notes. So that's the hardest part of making that flute, is getting that little angle just right. And all it is, like I said, it's 45 degrees, just like any whistle. Now, more traditional flutes in the native way, like for sun dancers or something, they might take an eagle bone and make a flute. You might only have one note. Now you go to Hawaii, you get bamboo flutes, they call them nose flutes. They only have 2 holes. They make 3 notes, and they play them with their nose. So there's all kinds of ways you can make flutes. I didn't bring it tonight, but I have a piece of bamboo flute that's got a little cut on it, and I take a thing like it make a saxophone reed, and I can have that flute, and it sounds like a saxophone. It's just a piece of bamboo. Okay, so what you can do in nature with natural tools. Now a lot of like Waldorf, they kind of preach that let kids have natural things to play with instead of plastic toys and stuff, Let them have natural, things from nature that, like pieces of wood. Now, there's a book by Lou called Last Child in the Wood that came out in '05, and his idea is that all these things they're diagnosing and giving Ritalin to kids for, like ADD and ADHD and all of these, are actually nature deficit disorder. So if a kid has a playground but there's woods nearby, that kid's going to be in the woods. That was his thought, is that the kid is going to choose not the plastic playground, but the nice tree to climb. Okay, any other questions?
I wanted to share something. I had learned about the wind. You think naturally when you're blowing in one that the air is coming out of the end of the flute, but for physicists it does not. When you blow, that 45-degree angle splits the air, which makes a partial vacuum in the back of the tube. So the air rushes in the front end of the tube. The air is running in the front end of the tube.
Right. If you have a mic, they want to put it here, not down here.
Well, what I mean, when you blow, this 45-degree angle is reducing the pressure because part of the air is coming out and part's going in. The air then rushes in the front. Air's going in there, and where it collides, it is like a thunder. That's where it's making the vibration. Then you control where that vibration is with that. And I don't mean to be big mouth here,
no,
but
that's
it's just,
okay.
it's just
And
kind
that's why,
to me,
if it's a wooden flute, then it grows sweeter the longer it's played.
I have a comment about Chief Roy Wilson of the Cowlitz tribe that my sister and I are members of, and he plays the flute quite nicely, and he was explaining the history of it. I got to a point where he said, when you play the flute, actually what's happening is you're blowing into the instrument, and the flute plays you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody's interested, these are... Like I said, your whole workshop can fit in a little thing like that. Got all my tools. Something to saw with. Sure. No, I didn't make it. My daughter's made it. My daughter
Yesterday was started this morning like
Right there.
Four counties and 2 states.
That's what I hear.
That's my only agency. I've never traced Yeah, my Uncle Clyde, my favorite uncle, they started Yeah, he lives there. His mom is related. So I'm related by marriage.
Then you can tune them. Some of them, like song. One for each ancestor. Yeah, that's what tuning. Plus, the American 4 was like the drums and the 4. Some people say it's for the 4 directions, other people say for the 4 ancestors.
No, I get those at the Ferndale. But my kids paint them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Who makes them up in Ferndale?
One place.
Oh, really?
This is the book Dr. Wood and I wrote.
Oh, okay.
The ISSS statement. So I turned it into a book. So I'm doing all of that. All like it. I started with this like
Oh, that's great.
And they call that a nest, so they're putting the bird or the nest.
What I made one, but I made the one not in here.
Put it in the block. Yeah. And I say the Plains Indians and the Woodland Indians. I think it's the Woodland Indians that carve the block. And the Plains Indians that they carve the block here. So I say you can avoid either one of those. Leather, 16 threads. So you leave this flat, that flat, but the leather might come all the way and give you your gas. You know what I mean? Yeah, we'll try. When you make your own cedar. That's tough. I think it's officially mahogany.
That's hard.
These are so quaint because they look like they have the senior program in Harvard. You go over there. They have that one side of it. They do psychedelic. She teaches carving at the middle school.
Don't move your hands.
Not all kinds, only hand pushing. Don't use any electric. I used to, but the last 4 or 5 years they've cut out on having adults come in. We used to have adults come in, and I had a lot of swinger men who wanted to do it all the time. But for some reason, it's way out.
I was thinking also.
Whatever.
Do you have a website where you get good tools? What do you use on the website to buy your
Wednesday.
Judge not, you shall not be judged. I remember that one way back.
Pretty much.
I don't know, she's rather
Trying to
fine.
go gauntlet
She's
down,
fine,
you know,
but
you're gonna play, we'll play a real nice little game,
yeah, these are all. I didn't actually read this, I was going to read it. The Native American Indians have been for many thousands of years advanced in a way that transcends time, space, and lack of faith. Part of humanity lost the dreams of and recreate the way of prayer. Restore the beauty and creative creation, the gifts of music. Music, that magical source of love and fundamental memory. Is set the creative urge of man seeking his name as a woman seeking herself.
Well, you know, you get the right tone in your character, you get right tone.
You bring one here? You bring one here?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, I go out and, you know, it's all, there's even a note on the property, it talks about the whole construction. And it talks about Cap Statues, about Ayers and Blanchard, and how all the work is and then there's sound of flutes for Israel.
You know, I saw there's a nightclub, not a nightclub, but a cafe down in Seattle. It's going to have a light sound lecture on science. Mary?
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of that cafe that's having the sound light?
I think it's having, what is it, Tacoma
It's one in Tacoma. They're providing the sound light.
Well, that's, it's very interesting because quantum physics has shown that electrons can be in two places at once. That once connected, anything you do and so we're all connected, so it's all happening, and our thoughts are affecting water molecules affect each other. And we don't take responsibility for that at all. We try to imagine and lie to ourselves that we're not all connected.
What goes wrong is leaves fall. He's improving things though.
Well, you can blame me because I have a lot of lack of faith a lot of times. But miracles happen. I lost my son's dog. I'd given it to some people and he broke out overnight. 5 days later, the dog reappears in the field. This is way over. He's never been, only 9 but he's never been around cars. He's right in that thing between Highway 20 and Memorial Highway. He's gone for 5 days, reappears in things unheard. He was a coyote. He looks like a little. And yeah, he would only come to me, so they called me up. Stop, stop right here. I was crying my eyes out. I'm not giving that dog away. They get too attached.
I made my first one out of the neighbor's
And
fence.
they're very
What's going on?
Had an old cedar fence knocked down 20 years ago, and I think it's
He used to be able, sure, he used to be able to get him on
they're rotting out there.
Yeah. Get your,
Well, yeah.
play that fence, yeah.
No, they don't carry needles. And they carry more expensive. Nietzsche is very expensive. Oh, is it? Carry, yeah, less than $10 for all this set.
Where do you get these up in Burnside? My son has an office in Burnside.
There's a big place where they make drums, it's a whole big
Native
building.
American style,
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
Can you buy the leather and stuff if you want to do your?
Yeah, they'll sell you the leather.
You know the name of it, you fit.
Eagle Bear's the one who took me there. Yeah, he always directs me, I don't really go on my own, because he gets a deal. You know, he makes a deal. Now, I have one made out of buffalo. Yeah, that's right, he says, please.
These two.
Well, anyway, all my connection is online. And these are some of our featured artists. This guy.
It's kind of like Van Gogh, that we so far.
This guy
Hour-long
actually,
show
this
on
is
Van
Santa
Gogh.
Cruz. Santa Cruz. I actually saw it in ships. Yeah. This guy is barefoot bicyclist with a guitar, he used to make these out of black bamboo, all kinds of flutes. Rides all over the country, barefoot on his bicycle. He looks like they're.
Are these made by Native Americans?
Yeah, they're Native American made ones. Up there, but the guy pays the American people to make them. They crank them out. You know.
Website or card, or it's actually, it is, but you need to go on.
Yeah, he's my mentor. And ctheory.org, he founded that. Computer Social Impact Officer, who founded it in '79 in California. And when he died, his son handed it over to me. I founded it in '07. And it's a legal nonprofit. And Fred never did any fundraising, and I'm on the same page. I do all the stuff, you know.
You blow into these or across them?
No,
You blow into them or across?
More like
But
a
blow, get a
yeah.
sound.
But you see, they actually have the notes marked.
That's what makes
But you want them to all be even.
Even.
To get the right note.
It's straight across.
Yeah.
I guess they don't ever do it. And the other thing, I never sealed this up or anything.
Now, there's still a website, Frank,
Well, he actually makes these.
No, I'm his website. But there's a link. Yes, they put all his work online.
Standing sealer.
Yeah, FredBernardWood.org. There's a link from my site. They did.
Bring me in the subject now. I don't know.
This is my
why
mentor.
is it-
Frank was her mentor. We have,
Yeah, like,
Dr. Frank
on,
Wood
fishing
was
reel
the
or
inventor of
fishing
modern
rod.
radar.
And I know they can use
Her
MIT.
MIT, and then IBM.
Be that as it may,
Used
everyone
all
that had, of
those
course,
systems,
was finished off very
theories,
nicely.
and
They all
work
played
time
very
his
nicely.
retirement.
Yeah, they
He
did.
was the
This was probably about 6 months to a year
and
after I
co-founder
did
of
these
the Earth
guys.
Regeneration Society. He
See
published a
what
book
I'm doing right or
His World
what.
to Lose with a
Yeah,
comprehensive plan. The book was His World to Lose.
Yes, it presented it in Rio in '92. They had a bill before Congress. The elder Bush shut it down to reverse. They had the answers to reversing global warming, stopping the recession, giving everyone employment, giving all the. He proved that the COP is greater than 1. It was totally. He said that every time an engineer got close to that, they either got early retirement, live a pension, or they died or were murdered. And we have had to give Tesla was a zero. Yeah, and he had all about Tesla. And, you know,
Oh, my husband.
and also inside the paper, which is also on my site, is there. And that's what the book is, the paper, yeah, but it's all free online. And so, it talks about, we included a whole appendix from Bearden, Lieutenant Colonel Bearden, who, proves why COP greater than 1 is possible. You know what COP is, coefficient of power. Okay, so COP greater than 1 is what our energy crisis is pretty good. I actually did a series, Stanford, community TV, called The Energy Crisis, Fact or Fiction. 2-year weekly series. It started with me interviewing Fred telling the truth. The day after it came on, the rolling blackouts that were getting worse and worse stopped. They only had 2 more. They went after Enron. And I knew the government was behind it. So the only place to be seen was in Monterey, where there's a base, Watsonville, and the Santa Cruz Mountains. So one person, me and Fred, stopped the energy crisis overnight just by telling the truth.
So how long ago was
That was in, well, let's see, we did Global Crisis Solutions Conference in 99, 2000, and I put them on too.
That's why I give you the figure.
That's all online, one of my series, my short-term memory is gone. I guess it went to, 83, so it was going to, I was there for 7 years.
that? I wanted to go to UC Santa but much earlier than that. I'm February now.
Yeah, the earthquake up there too, you know.
Well, I've got the, I want to start making albums. I've got 4 albums of my poetry that turns into songs ready to go. And that's, you can also do this on YouTube, but when I uploaded mine to YouTube, what I
I
got
know about it.
was not a DVD you can watch on your DVD player. It's a raw file you can put in your computer and edit anything with it. So I am, when I,
Lulu does a lot. Lulu's a big
Lulu will let you do whatever,
Do
CDs,
you pay to
DVDs.
subscribe to it, or?
No, it's all free.
Lulu is free.
Yes, and the only thing you have to pay for is when you want to order the book, they charge you for printing and shipping. Somebody can buy the book, and then you can pick how much you want to charge extra on top of the printing and shipping. And they will add 20% for themselves. So that's
Oh,
what.
yeah,
So they're looking for authors.
I'd be
Oh,
more
yeah.
inclined.
You're your own editor. You can do whatever you want. And then they will give you a.
Thank you very much.
They'll give you a free ISBN number. See, all these books are ISBN. But you have to give them permission to be the publisher for this book from then on. If you want to
They
be your
distribute
own,
it too, they mail it out.
well, if you want to pay extra, no, you're the one who's going to go advertise your book. But I got a whole storefront, and it's all free.
Well,
Now, if I wanted to pay them $99 on each book, I get the ISBN number and I have the right to do
what
them,
your idea was and mine
So it
was
only
that I was
costs
gonna
$100 a
replicate
book.
what was in the east.
to retain all your
Okay,
rights.
except there'd be
You're
one
still
on either side.
the owner of the
You
copyright.
have to charge quite a lot for the books then, right?
Well, they
I'd
charge
rather
you
give it a
printing and
second
shipping.
thought as to
But all of
what
these
else
books
we
are
wanted.
ebooks now, so for $5 you can download it, the whole book. You don't even need to buy it.
So what website, I go to the website you had up on.
CSIRI.org, and on the left it'll say Andrea Bowe's book. And it'll.
When was your last lecture like this? Have you given this here before? I don't think.
You know, I did about 3 years ago, I offered something like this, but nobody showed up.
Take care of
Kind of changing now a little bit.
Yeah, 3-4 years ago I was doing
Are
that.
these pieces you made or Eagle Bear?
No, those are me, my kids actually. This amber
Pretty.
is
Kind of
from
fun, huh?
Poland. This piece,
Her to take her
and
time.
this piece was on a ring that matched
make
it,
quite a
and the
few.
ring
Oh, you
came
have
off
some,
the ring,
so
so
you
my
make
daughter
those?
glued it
Yeah.
on there, but it was
Yeah.
a piece of
File
abalone
here.
from
Yeah,
Mexico. So we got Poland,
Yeah, you got
Mexico,
a
and then we
nice
got the
skin,
turquoise,
5,
and the
6
coral, that's
with
Danae.
Did they make the dream catcher too?
Eagle Bear did that.
That's
And
unfinished.
so I
Yeah.
buy these things from him.
And, I think.
And he did teach my children how to do this.
Carver squares.
Yeah.
I have a little pair of earrings
Yeah,
that Mary
that's
Smith
double
made.
vision.
Her most of her earrings are great big.
Native
and I
Americans
said, I
keep this
can't
in
do
clothes
big
all
earrings.
the time.
And so I
Yeah.
described to her what I
Time
want,
scale.
and
Not
she
at
had
time. So when
two
you
little
play,
cedar
you cover
roses
these
on
three.
Oh, yeah,
This
those
is
are
all
that
pretty.
Eagle
you
Bear's
play. You have a major.
mother had taught her to
You have
do.
a major block.
Eagle Bear's mother is the one who's related
It
to,
does work, but you don't.
my Uncle Clyde, the Maester.
It's just
Oh, is
before
that
inches
right?
Yeah,
between,
and,
yeah, just
and
about
this-
before.
Yeah.
Just before
One of
inches
his mother's
between there.
that he
And
made.
4 inches from the end.
Isn't that pretty? I hang
I
it
guess
in my,
that's not too
It doesn't have to be 4 inches. If you, you can tune this
And
by
it
where
turns out we're
you put your
related.
4 direction holes.
Through there.
In
I like it.
other
That's a
words,
wrap
you can change
Well,
the
I
key
did that
of this
because,
by
like
where
I
you
said,
put
I
that.
was afraid it was gonna go through.
You want to see
It's
what
got
key
too
that is?
thin.
I got a
And I like your natural finishes. I do
No,
not
I'm sure
like
what I
the
do.
Well,
lacquered
I
ones.
can still sand them down.
Yeah, you can get a fine finish.
Now, these have been beeswax and this one hasn't. See the difference in color? This hasn't been beeswax or it's been sanded since it was.
I'm looking for your name. and tell me.
Blow into this.
Yeah,
Have you
now,
put your name in there?
close all the holes.
You know, I haven't really carved for a long time. I've been
Okay,
really
what
busy
key
with
is
all
it?
this other stuff. My mom's almost 101.
Yeah, we went through that.
About B flat. Now open
See,
all
I
the
never
holes.
learned
One
to
should be
crochet.
about
I
the
learned
same.
everything from backpacks to
It's
wedding
8
gowns.
flat,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Now you would go
I
up and
knitted
down.
some, but I never crocheted.
Well,
If I
I'm
blow
the
too hard
ultimate,
on it,
our
I get-
family's the ultimate
It always gives you
recycler.
2 octaves.
My grandma,
Actually,
Gladys Jones, she
just breathe
saved
into it.
every
That's a low octave.
piece of yarn from
It
every
should-
afghan
a
she ever
wooden flute
made.
should give you 2 octaves.
And when she died, my
Just
Aunt
breathing
Jenny
is one,
gave
and
it,
then the second
had
should
it,
breathe
and
is
then
1
she
octave.
gave it to me. And she also had all these beautiful buttons. I saved all these little shell
Blow
buttons, and I
hard.
make these little, well, I've used up hers,
Then
but
it flips.
I get shell buttons
Close
and I
all
make
the holes
these
and do the
pouches.
same
This
thing.
is all crochet. She
Sometimes
taught me
you
to
do 2
crochet
octaves.
and, made a hat.
Real low,
And this
just
is
barely
wool,
breathe. Now
and
there-
these are
it's
cotton,
not
that's
low
hemp.
octave.
You can't even get that
Okay.
stuff anymore.
Yeah,
They
that's
went-
a 2 octaves.
So you just keep the special
This
things
is
in there.
cotton.
And
Yeah, well, I
like
have my
it.
shell
You're
buttons
playing
in there
from
that
a
I use
spiritual
to
kind
put
of
up
thing.
here.
it's breathing
And I'll
more
go
than
to
blowing.
a thrift store and find an outfit
So
that
the
might
critical
not like
things
the
are how
buttons
wide
are
that
beautiful,
is,
right?
the depth of your.
So anyway, I
You've got
took
statistics on it. You
and
can buy some
took
statistical
all
things
this
you
old
have on it.
wool
Well,
that
I
my
learned
grandma
something,
had saved, and I made
from
this
her on the
beautiful
45 degree, and I
afghan,
don't have that on it.
and it's now
This
part
is
of
just
the
like guessing
keyboard
by gold.
case I use.
Yeah,
I kind
45,
of
well,
shrunk
that's,
and felted it, and it's beautiful rose
basically, the
and
angle
blue
could
wool
be the
from
same
really
as
how
the
old.
depth of
Yeah, and then I
the
made a whole bunch
thickness
of
the wall.
belts out of it on the Inkaloo,
But see, I flattened it
just
off.
like that all the
So
time.
flattened it off.
The kids
So,
would
if
take
you-
Try to
their
recycle.
creativity, that's different.
But the width, the front
And
to
I
back is
homeschooled my
important,
kids all in
and
different
the depth of
amounts.
the cut.
How many did you have?
5. And the one who had the least amount of formal schooling is doing the best. She's like a nanny, she's in early childhood education at
Yeah, well,
Cabrillo,
you could download.
you know, no stress.
You take mine,
Never had, she was very shy. She wouldn't have been very happy
So I tuned mine.
at regular
You can
school.
tune these.
Now, we had the 4 boys, and then we adopted a girl, and she's the one who's part Native American.
Oh, neat.
When you,
When she comes up here, which we
Let's
plan
say that
to
was that long.
touch base with you.
if these
I
holes
wish
too far up,
I'd had
it
lost
won't
this,
play.
somehow the 2 saddles that I had.
So you usually have to have some kind of hole. about
So I
4
found my
inches.
little parable.
It's not, this could be a solid end, but if you've got your 4 tuning holes. And depending how close the tuning hole is to that, the length of this one usually is about 12, 15, 16, 17 long. That's
Do
an
you have
inch
any
hole.
Native American in
It's a
you?
big hole for that
I
size.
don't know for sure, but I have a great-grandma and a great-great-grandma that were, lived and died on Orcas Island, Barker and Longfellow, and they were from Motley, Minnesota. Now, Motley, Minnesota, according to my great-aunt who did all the genealogy on our family, was a place where a lot of Native American half-breeds
Yeah,
became
you got
white
a nice.
because they were murdering all
Did
the
you make
Indians
this from
back
a
there.
flute?
And so Motley, Minnesota was claimed by 2 states and 4
I'm really not
counties.
sure where I got the idea.
And so it was a place where you
Motley.
This is
you went and
something
got
that's
your
been
birth certificate,
wrapped
and
up
they didn't really
in that
trace
towel,
whether you
stuck in
were,
the back of
Or
a
you were-
what
shop
your
for a long
nationality
time.
was.
Pretty much been
Yeah.
shelled ever
Motley
since
is the name of it.
I found
That's
out that I
Motley,
didn't get
Minnesota.
one.
Isn't that funny?
By the same token, tonight is really the first time that this one decided.
You can't have any leak here, so
No.
this thing could be a little bit bigger to make sure it's sealed back here.
Yeah.
There can't be any air leak.
Yeah.
And then,
And then too, if I'd had beeswax on it,
yeah.
Well, that's beautiful.
but it never did that before.
Well,
And you can see this is one of the books from another guy who makes native flutes down in San Diego, and these are spirit songs. He'll sell you a book
Oh.
that has how to hold your fingers.
Oh,
And then here's one called Carol's Jig, Amazing Grace.
oh my gosh. So
And
Tim,
it
he's got the
shows you
music notes and also
exactly where to,
fingering.
yeah. Well, he puts out this book, and it cost me about $11. These are the only 2 I have left.
Huh,
But he makes them in key,
I see.
you know, so
Uh-huh.
this is in a key, so that's how you, why you can play it.
but you wanna know what key your little one is? Here, I'm just, when I tell you the keys these are in.
Well, wait, we got, what, B flat on this one? Or no, A?
Let me see once again, let's try it.
We'll try to
We
get-
don't have to test our memory. Okay. So those are all the holes. And if it's well tuned, all open will be about the same as all closed. It's a little above B flat, but not quite a B. That's not quite a B. Now open all the holes. It's A flat, so that's not far from a B. Either.
Well, Annie, you must make some money on your books,
Let's
don't
try
you?
this.
No, because I haven't advertised them.
I marked mine, what I know when it is.
Originally, I wanted to do
But now
this
this
thing about my
won't
book.
work as
but they
well
won't
with
let
the
me
higher
do
notes
that.
because
I
you don't,
recommended the
it's too
library
far from the
order
air.
my
You
book,
may
but
have
they
to
don't
put
want to do
down
that.
here.
Well.
No, I wouldn't do that. I'd throw my
Right?
four hole because that's more traditional. It represents the 4 ancestors.
Oh,
For you to exist, you had to have 4 people for you to be, and they would drill 4 holes up. Okay, see, that's an F, that's what you're doing, it's about an F sharp. Okay, now
stay as long as we want.
Okay.
They've already locked the door, so they'll lock behind us when we go.
But you have an option
I'm
on
ready
this
to
to
do
make
this
it whatever
for
key you
storage.
want,
Yep,
depending
with
where
the
you
drum.
put that.
Kind of.
Ideal.
Just
Yeah,
something I
there's
found at a
statistics
thrift
where it's
store.
12 inches,
I mean,
15
sure,
inches.
store's great. I was
20
born in
inches
South Africa and
from
Oh,
that
wow.
bottom.
we always used everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't get
Yeah.
over the waste when I came to this country.
You know, I grew up in Venice Beach, and it was all old, and everyone was poor. But everyone was happy.
We got what,
Yeah.
There was no crime.
cover
There
all
was
the
nothing
water
to
to
steal.
start with.
Right.
And it wasn't until the
Okay, that's
LA
about it.
developers wanted Venice that
That's about it.
they
Yeah,
started
sure.
to
Right, yeah.
get hold of the, first they started back in 1956, they got hold of the,
Try.
I should turn this off. I forgot I had this going.